Thanks for joining us, Dave.
Thank you, Trent.
Good to see you.
Glad to be here, mate.
Now, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
It's from the news recently, and it's about a data breach in the health industry in Victoria. So what happened is pretty much there was a data breach in Victorian hospitals, in some Victorian hospitals, and computers were down. They had to go back to pen and paper systems, and some surgeries were cancelled and things like that. So it's really impacted people's lives from that perspective. Now, 2 years ago, the same thing happened on a much larger scale in the UK. So my question is really, how is this still happening? Like, why hasn't something been introduced to stop this?
Yeah, actually, it's not just hospitals. We're also hearing stories from the major retailers experiencing this situation. It's almost like week after week we're hearing
It's quite common.
stories about cyber breach. Particularly in the case of the hospital, I think the problem is not in their security perimeter controls. I'm pretty confident that they would have invested in the best firewall, the best web security, email security in the industry.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident they have done that. So where I think the breach is occurring is not having enough system in place to detect a breach that bypasses the perimeter control.
Okay.
And I think that is where they are falling short.
Okay.
So what we've seen in that sort of system is there are solutions in place that actually are detecting breaches that bypass its perimeter control. And these systems are a SIEM-based product or an appliance-based product where they're just getting a lot of alerts. And where we find the problem with those current systems is that a lot of alerts are coming through.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time to actually go through that alert, and sometimes an alert is difficult to decipher, and there's lack of skill set. So you've got this volume of noise coming through, and to find a real alert is like a needle in a haystack. So the system that's in place right now, creating all these alerts, is actually creating a whole new problem.
Yeah. Okay.
This noise and finding a needle in that haystack is the new threat.
Yeah. So what's the answer? If there's so many alerts coming through, how do you, I suppose, automate that or have something in place so you're receiving validated?
Yeah. So there's actually a few components to that. There's probably four I can think of. The first one is the disproportional spending around security. There is a lot of investment around that prevention component, that perimeter protection around the best firewall. But when it comes to spending on detecting a breach that bypasses all that perimeter protection, it's actually quite small.
Yeah, okay.
And we think that the spending needs to be equal amounts. Like you spend as much on prevention as well as detecting a response. That needs to be invested.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is the solution that you have in place is not about a logging system. We disagree with that. The system needs to be able to detect and stop threats that other misses. It needs to be able to act on that. So it needs to be able to stop threats. So that's number two.
Yep.
Number three is where we feel is the most important, one of the most important anyway, is that to stop that noise. We believe that a system needs to be able to give you a validated breach. So what that is when you get a validated breach, it means that something is happening now. You don't need to research on it. It's real, and you need to do some meaningful action.
Okay.
As opposed to giving you an alert and you trying to figure out is that real or not. We don't agree with that.
Yeah.
We believe that the system needs to be a validated breach approach. That's number three. Number four is having a strong reporting system. So the reporting system needs to have very good forensics that can actually detect how the attacker got in, how long they are there for, how they got around, what they stole, and what backdoors that were established in place.
Yeah, okay.
So that forensics will be able to give the IT security team meaningful information to do something about it.
Yeah.
So those are the four things that the system needs to be in place as a post-breach detection and response solution.
So with number three that you were talking about, which is receiving validated responses, how does the system do that? Like, because SIEM is just sending you alerts, but what's different and how is it differentiating between a validated alert and just an alert? What's the process?
Yeah, good
in
question,
that?
Trent.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the solution that has in place right now is all around that broader perimeter protection outside thing. So the solution in place is actually a sensor that's sitting inside your network, having a very offensive approach, baiting and capturing an attack that's taking place. So the solution is more about inside the network, looking at traffic inside the network rather than trying to filter traffic outside. So that's the breach detection component. It's detecting something that managed to bypass your perimeter protection, and the sensor is actually looking at all the traffic that's managed to come inside. And that's where I think the gap is. I think the problem that we have with the breach that's happened recently with the hospital, I think, is not having something that is strong enough to detect something that's actually inside the network and stopping it, and that's where I think the problem is.
Okay, well, I think that's my answer.
Okay.
So it's really, what you're saying is that traditionally perimeter protection has been where everyone's focusing their effort, but that's outdated. We now realize that there's nothing that's foolproof. There's something that's going to get past your perimeter no matter what you have in place. So now we need to refocus our efforts on detection and response.
That's right. I reckon if we are focusing on not just perimeter protection, which is very important, we need to focus on making sure that what we have in place in detecting a breach is effective, it's not giving false positive, and it's giving something meaningful to act upon. And I think if we got that right, that would prevent the issue that happened recently at the hospital. Great.
Okay. Look, you've answered my question. Thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Trent.
And thank you for watching. Until next time.